Part 1. Intro/What is it? Exodus chapter 20 verse 12 says, Honor thy father and thy mother, and thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. There is no numbering on the 10 Commandments, so different groups have divided them slightly differently. It doesn't really matter how we might divide the commandments up. Neither have we been able to historically find out for certain how they were originally distributed between the 2 tablets. Some believe that the second tablet was a copy of the first one. When it comes to commandments, this is the switch from God to how we treat our neighbors. Or in other words, this is where we begin to talk about our duties to our neighbors. Of all of our duties that we have to our fellow man, the first and foremost and most fundamental is the one duty that is reflected towards our parents. This lies at the root of all our social reactions. It is also the first of which we naturally should have to most love and respect for our parents. In this verse we can find this commandment. Even in different translations of this verse here, most of them start with the word honor. And that ones that don't start with this word start with words like respect, obey, and care for. All these different words are pointing to the same thing. These words all show the same meaning of how we are supposed to be showing a reverence towards them. Through this commandment, we can see how it underscores of the importance of a family structure and respect for a parental authority. The family was and is the primary unit of society, and honoring parents was seen as fundamental to maintaining that social order and stability. The commandment is not merely just about obedience, it also involves a deep respect and care for one's parents, though this is also acknowledges their roles and their sacrifice that is involved with raising children. Honor, reverence, and obedience are all due to parents from their position in which they stand to their children. First, because in the certain sense that they are the authors of their being. Secondly, as parents, they are the shelters and nurturers during the most formative years. Finally, they serve as our protectors and our educators. From this, we are able to derive the foundation of our moral training and our first elements of knowledge. We are able to see that this is obviously talking about our physical and biological parent. However, in this commandment is also reflecting a respect towards God too. We can see the evidence of this through the familiar structural references of God being the Father and again through Jesus being the Son. This kind of familiar bond that they have is something that would also be applied to this verse here too. God is someone who is definitely supposed to be respected and revered. We can see the evidence and proof of that in some of the already discussed commandments that we have covered. So even though God is not our physical Father, He is still our spiritual Father. Because of that, the same honor and respect is something that is due to Him as well. The next part of this verse that we want to look at is into the phrase, that your days may be long. Just because of the way that it is worded, it suggests a promise of longevity and personal well-being to all of those who obey this first part of the commandment, honoring one's parents. In Greek ethics, it taught that the relation of children to their parents was one that was parallel that men would also have with God. Rome made the absolute authority of the father the base of its entire state system. In Hebrew culture, a long life was something that was to be considered to be a blessing from God. It is often associated with righteousness and obedience to His commandments. The promise given here is not just an individual, but instead a collective, implying that a society that respects and honors its elders is one that will thrive and one that will endure. All this reflects the biblical principle that obedience to God's commandments brings about blessings, both spiritually and materially. Using these several different cultures that we have looked at, it is clear that in many cultures and groups of people, that having a clear respect and reverence towards our parents is something that is universal.